In this video, I'm going to break down step by step how Kittl Flows works. I know in previous videos, I've kind of jumped into a template, which we have a ton already kind of pre-made, ready to go using Kittl Flows. And while those are definitely helpful, I can see how some of you need a little bit more of a step-by-step illustration of how you might use it. And that's what I want to do. Oh, and at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can get 300 extra AI credits, because I know that using Kittl Flows takes quite a bit, and I want to show you how you can get more credits to play around, so stick around for that. So let's go ahead and break it down. And first, I'm going to show you how we would get started from scratch, completely from zero, just starting with a new project. If I scroll down over here on the template, you can see here I'm on the templates feed. You're going to see a bunch of Kittl Flows templates, and we'll talk about one or two of those and how they can be helpful. You can see them all here for different use cases and different reasons. But let's say you're just wanting to get started from scratch so that you can get a handle on how Kittl Flows actually works. So I'm just going to start brand new board. I'm going to hit standard. Doesn't really matter because you're going to have different sizes you can choose from. So to get started, you're always going to have whatever is going to be on your standalone artboard, or whatever artboard you decide to go with. So here I just have a standard artboard, and right now we don't have anything on it. So we would need something to get started with. Now I'm going to start with what I think is the easiest and fastest to understand one of the strengths of Kittl Flows, and that is turning a actual sketch that you make into a refined design very quickly. So for example, here I've got my little notebook, and I showed this in a previous video you can check out, but you can see right here I drew a very simple, very basic anchor. What I'm going to do is drag my image into Kittl, or you can go over here into the uploads panel and upload it right here. But here it is. I've got my image here, and I'm going to blow it up just a little bit so it's bigger. So then to get started with Kittl Flows, I am going to add what's called a Smartboard, and there's two ways to do this. I need to make sure that I have my artboard selected. So the artboard that is going to talk to the Smartboard. So I'm going to select it by clicking the text up here. It says standard right now. I could rename it to anchor sketch. Okay, so I'm gonna have it selected. Now the first way I can do it is by hitting this little arrow. If I hover over this, you can see the preview of the Smartboard. That's option 1. Or 2, I can hit Smartboard over here in the right side panel. So if I click Smartboard, there it is. I'm gonna hit Command or Control Z to go back and show you the other way, which is just clicking on this arrow, and then now here is the Smartboard ready to go. And as you can see over here on the right side, it says Smartboard, and it has a little preview, a little thumbnail of what is being used to create something new. And then it says right here, describe your edits. So it is going to call on this previous artboard to take your prompt, what you're going to tell it to do, and generate something new. What we want to do is turn this into a usable vector illustration. So I'm going to say, turn this sketch into a cleaned up vector graphic in a vintage etched style. Now, I could click something like refine prompt, and this is going to be extremely helpful if you're going to be generating imagery, which I can also show you in a little bit. I'll go ahead and click it just to see what happens. But yeah, convert this sketch into a clean vector graphic with a vintage etch style. Use fine lines. So it's adding a bunch of stuff that it would have taken me a lot of brain power to think of. So fine lines, cross hatching to simulate looks of traditional etching. Ensure the final design is scalable for, so that's very nice. So that is an option for you. You can hit refine prompt. Now, the way that Smartboards works is it is embedded with AI, and it takes credits to use, just like our AI over here on the left. So the AI panel here takes credits to use. So you can see here all of the different styles that we have, all of the different models, and the credits that they take. So you can see right here, ChatGPT image is actually quite strong, by the way. It takes 6 credits all the way down to something like Flash, which takes 1. So there's a lot of different ones in here, and we're working on adding more. This takes the same credit pool. It doesn't take from new credits. You don't have to go and try to find a different place. It all uses the same credit pool. High is going to get you a much more refined, robust final piece. It's going to take a little bit longer to generate. And low is going to be for something that's fast iteration. You just want to kind of see what a concept looks like, or maybe you're making an icon set. It needs less data, has less colors, has less thing to function with. You can also click transparent background, which I'm going to select for this because I want to use it as an actual icon set. and then you can create an aspect ratio different from 1:1. I'm going to leave it on 1:1 because I don't really need it for anything else other than the illustration, the asset itself. But you could do 3:2. Or you could do 2:3, more of a poster size. I'm going to leave it on 1:1 for now. And then all you have to do is hit generate. And then the magic's going to happen. It's going to turn purple like that. It's going to go back and forth with the purple gradient. And then in a matter of about a minute, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer, a little bit less. If your doodle is maybe a little bit harder to define, it's going to take a little bit longer to generate. If this is a full-blown design that you're just kind of iterating on, which you can see me do in the previous videos, then it doesn't need so much time. All right, and now we have our etched illustration of an anchor. It even has the rope here. It's even gone through the middle of the ring there, which is really, really nice. I love when the rope kind of goes around a anchor like that. But I'm ready to use this by just simply clicking convert to image over here. Maybe we want to go in here, and I'll hit the E tool, and then we just need to clean up a little bit of this. For the eraser tool, which is E, and let's go right here and maybe a little bit right here. Okay, and then I'm going to exit the eraser mode, and what I could do with this to be ready for a usable vector graphic is vectorize it. Now, if I wanted the color that's in there, because tan or parchment color is a very obvious color to use for etching back in the day, because that was generally the color of paper, so there's not a ton of color going on in etched graphics. But if I just wanted it to be black and white or black and nothing, I could just leave it on 1. So I'm going to leave it on 1. I'm going to go ahead and vectorize this. All right, and so as you can see, it basically kept the black, which is really great now, because if I add a artboard, and then we could drag this onto it, you can see that whatever is behind it now takes that color. And if you don't want it that way, that's totally fine. I can now turn it to any color I want, and it's translucent or transparent, and so you can see through it, which I think is super helpful depending on what you're going to use it for. But I could also go back. Let's go all the way back to before we vectorized it right here. And then we could do something like vectorize it in 2 colors, and then it should give me the black and the tan, and then I can flip back and forth to whatever I want. Yeah, all right, so now I vectorize it, and so you can see this tan here, so now I can turn that to any color I want. Maybe I want that to be like a, I don't know, like a super light color, and maybe I want the black color to be a super kind of dark navy, and now I've got that, and that's all from my initial sketch. Now, that's what I had in mind, and all I had to do was type that in, okay? I had to type that into the prompt. If I go back and click on any smartboard, it's going to show me the prompt, which is super helpful for when you're using those templates. So for example, let me jump over into a current smartboard where you can see here, this is one of our sketch to design smartboard flows. And I already showed you kind of how I would do it with my own little doodle. But for example, here's one that just says summer specials, and this is a doodle. And what they're doing is adding a bunch of prompt information to turn it into a full-blown ad. So you can see this, turn it into a dreamy design, photorealistic elements, glasses appear, enveloped by soft, so there's all this context. You can really give it a story. You can give the AI an entire story, and from just getting your initial doodle, your little sketch down, you can turn it into a ton of really, really cool stuff. So let's go back to our project here, and let's start iterating on this. So let's say we wanted to build out a nautical set. Maybe we need it for an asset pack that we're going to sell as, a digital seller. I sell a lot of stuff on Creative Market, for example. Or maybe we just need it for a branding campaign that's going to be all about nautical. Or maybe you need it for a conference graphic or a series of graphics where it's all going to be nautical and kind of old school. So what we can do is say, create a pirate ship in the same etched style. Sails should be down and cannons alongside the ship. And then just to see how it goes, I'm going to go ahead and hit refine prompt. I'm going to leave it refined like that. Go ahead and hit transparent again. And because it's calling on this to use as a generation style, when I hit generate, it should give me something very much in the same style and aesthetic as this anchor. And another really great thing about Smartboards is that you can keep working on multiple at a time. So I could go ahead and click this arrow, and instead of a pirate ship, maybe we want to create a shark in the same style. So I'm going to go ahead and refine that prompt, make it transparent, hit generate, and we can keep doing this as many times as we want. So I'll hit another one, and then I'll come down here, and I'll do this a couple of times, and then we'll check back in a minute or two to see what it's generated. All right, so I generated a couple of different illustrations from this initial etched graphic. So I've got the initial smartboard here. Like I mentioned to you, I added several smartboards attached to this one, which is still attached to the original drawing. And so I got a shark, I got a lighthouse, I got a barrel, I stopped there. So hopefully you see that you could keep on going and create a full set. So we've got our anchor. All I did was convert these to images with this convert to image button, and then I selected 2 colors on the vectorizer. I could probably select more, but this style generally, taps out at about 2 colors for it to be that kind of old school effect. And you could get a little bit more creative with your prompting if you didn't want, say, water under the pirate ship, or you didn't want, stuff in the background, or I could convert this to an image, and then I could go in with the eraser tool and I could erase some of this stuff up front, or what have you. You could get a little bit more specific so that you don't have extra stuff around it. But I think it did an incredible job of taking my initial sketch, turning it into exactly what I had in my head, and then generating multiple illustrations that I then vectorized so that they're all in the same exact color and style. Let me give you one more example before you go and try it out yourself. And I also just want to clue you into a couple of things that you can do with Kittl Flows. You can grab any of these and move them around. So they're not locked to any sort of position. So I could move these up and down. I could move these farther away. You can see the thread, the arrow moving around, or I could move them like this. I can move the original artboard around, and you can always convert them to an image to do whatever you want with. And you can keep going. So for example, if I really liked this specific barrel, I could keep on going and say make multiple kinds of barrels, or maybe I want to make a boat cleat or a boat buoy or whatever. I could just keep on going. As I mentioned before, you can hit transparent, and if you leave it checked off, it will generate on a white background or whatever color background that you want it to generate on, because you can give hex codes to the smartboard and it will take that and it will give it the very closest or the very best guess to the color that you want the background to be. But let me just show you another example. So I am going to create let's say a title slide about the ocean, for example. This is another really strong suit of Kittl Flows. I'm going to use this shark as an example. You know what? Let's do 2. So I'm going to duplicate this. You can duplicate artboards by holding the Alt or the Option key and dragging, or hitting Command C and Control V if you want. And I'm going to grab this lighthouse. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to have it kind of just coming off from the side right here, and I'm going to put this in the middle here, about right there, and then I'm going to add a smartboard. So I'm going to add a smartboard here. I'm going to add a smartboard here, and you can see here's a 3x2. My artboard's a little bit longer, but it'll get the idea. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text to both of these. For this one, let's say it's a presentation or a title series, and this is going to be Secrets of the Deep. Yeah, let's just do it as one line. I'm going to make it like a little bit smaller. I'm going to duplicate that text, and we'll say by Drew from Kittl. Make that a little bit smaller and put that down here. Let's just copy this first initial text first, and we're gonna say looking for the light, and I'm gonna put that like this. What I'm gonna try to generate with Kittl Flows, and this is why I think it's so great, is that it's gonna take the focal element, which is the shark, which is the lighthouse, and just giving it information describing what I want. I'm going to try to generate a much more captivating title graphic or thumbnail or whatever you want from this illustration style. And you can see how this would be super helpful for product mockups, photography, even label design, all that kind of stuff you can do by just talking to the AI and telling it what you want. So I'm going to give this a go. We'll go over the prompts together once I kind of have them formulated, and then we're going to see how it does taking my words and generating an actual image with it. All right, quickly before I generate these, I'm going to briefly go over the prompt I gave it, and as you can see, it's pretty long, okay? And so this is why I encourage you to go and check out all of the Kittl Flows templates that we have, because you're going to see how these designers have crafted their prompts to get the most closest possible solution to what they want. So let me briefly go over it. I'm saying transform this design. So language like apply, transform, generate, that's good language to know that we're going to be taking something and transforming it, turning it into something else. I gave it some context. So the context is a conference presentation about sharks featuring the title Secrets of the Deep. I know that's not necessarily have anything to do with sharks. Secrets of the Deep would be more like a giant squid or something, but for the purposes of this, it's fine. I said stuff like nautical vintage style lettering, maintain the central position of the shark in the center, so I want it to be in the middle. I mentioned using nautical bubble textures that complement the etched theme. I talked about the subtext at the bottom, so you can get really specific with what and where you want stuff to look like. If I go over to the lighthouse one, I have here create a title slide graphic for a conference series, looking for the light. The word light should be prominently displayed, filling the right side. So there's a lot of space here on this one. So I want light to fill that. The word light should be in a nautical script font with a rope effect. So I want it to look like rope. I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen, but we're going to see. And then the subtext at the bottom should be in a serif font that harmonizes everything, incorporates seaweed, bubbles, marine stuff. Yeah. And maybe it generates something that's not the final graphic, but even I have something I can work off of. And then I can go and actually create it from scratch because I have an idea. So let's generate both of these and let's see what we come back with. All right, and we have our two generations here. Now, looking at these, I really, really like this second one. I like how it applied this kind of rope text effect to it, but I also wasn't expecting this, and I didn't tell it to generate this stroke around the lettering so it's a little bit easier to read. I think that's pretty cool. I would probably want to continue on editing this, but it's a great starting place. This one I also think is really nice. I like how the seaweed is here. I like how the text is over top of here. Now I'm noticing now that there's a little bit more space on the right than there is on the left, and it might be because I gave it a larger artboard. Yeah, so this is 1920 by 1080. This one's maxing out at 1620 by 1080, although I can make it bigger, but the aspect ratio is kind of locked to that. So what I might do is I would convert that to a image like this, and then I would center this up so that it makes sense. Another thing that's really, really cool that you could do is that we can keep going with this. So for example, let me go back to one by one for a second. Let's say I really like this seaweed, and I didn't think about that before. I'm going to say extract the seaweed from this design and show it as a illustration graphic I can use in other designs. I'm going to hit transparent, and then I'm going to hit generate, and what should happen is it takes that seaweed that's right here and then create that by itself to use as an element. I really like how this one turned out. Obviously there's some space down here that I might mess with, but what's really cool about that is we have other tools that we can utilize with this. So if I grab this graphic and I come down here, maybe I actually don't like where this text is. Well, if I hit the E button and then I go up here and I select erase and fill, what I can do is just erase this text. Now you might know this as outpainting or content aware fill, and we'll have that autocomplete in with the back of it. All right, and so that was perfect. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. And also up here, check this out. We have our new ready-to-use seaweed, which is super, super cool. It's already transparent. So maybe if I wanted to bring this down, for example, to have, I don't know, on this side of it. And maybe I wanted to add some text right here. And I was thinking maybe by Drew from Kittl would be a lot smaller, and I could keep asking it to do that, but we have tons of amazing fonts in Kittl already, so I can just make this a lot smaller. I'm gonna go up here, go to serif, and then even something like I would say something like this looks a little bit more nautical. So I'm gonna make this go down. I'm gonna center this up around the text right here, color drop to make sure I'm using this kind of same charcoal color right there. And then maybe I have area for another illustration or some subtext. So maybe I'm doing subtext like do something really cheesy like this. I don't know. I'm just trying to show this to you for example, but I think it's just helpful that you know exactly what you can do. So I'm going to generate a mock-up. So let's go with the anchor. I think that one would be the most symbolic. So we're going to go here. And let's zoom in right here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And let's add a smartboard. And then I'm going to say create a t-shirt mock-up with this anchor on the left chest of the shirt. All right, so we're going to generate that mock-up, and this is super helpful for things like branding imagery or getting proof of concept that you're going to show a client. So maybe you're working on merchandise, maybe you're working on branding design, you want to see what it looks like on a hat, t-shirt presentation, billboard, phone, whatever it is. You can use Kittl Flows to generate those mock-ups exactly how you want them in the exact style you want them, and then you can keep iterating on them. All right, and so here is our t-shirt mock-up. I said for it to be worn by somebody outside standing on a boat dock, and as you can see, it does kind of look like there's boats here in the background, which is super, super cool. Again, I can convert this to an image if I want to. I could even keep going on. I could add another smartboard and add it to a cap. I could add it to, you know, a duffel bag, whatever you want. It could be a really easy and fast way to get proof of concept. And so hopefully you're seeing the power of Kittl Flows. And if you need more help, let me know in the comments what you want to see. Do you need more information about prompting? We are working on a video for that, by the way. Do you need more information about how the Kittl Flows templates were set up? Do you want to see all the different use cases and effects on how you would use it? Are you trying to work with text? Are you working for imagery? Are you trying to generate mockups? If you want more AI credits, because I know that 6 is quite a bit of credits and it does take a little bit of time, and you know, if it's not what you want, I understand. I want to show you how you can get 300 extra AI credits. All we're simply asking is that you use Kittl Flows, share it on social, and tag Kittl. We're on all the socials. You can find us at Kittl Design, or you can tag us on LinkedIn if you want, wherever you want. Just take a screenshot of that or an image with your phone and upload it to our submission form. You'll find the submission form down below. If you show us that you tagged us, because we get tagged a lot, upload it to our type form, our submission form. It's in the description, and we're going to give you 100 credits. You can do that 3 times. So you create 3 different flows, post on social, tag us 3 different times. We're going to give you 100 credits each time. So that's 300 credits. That's a lot of credits. Please don't forget to go check out the other videos. I've got other videos showing you how to use Kittl Flows. Let me know in the comments what you want to see. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and we will see you in the next one.